What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Growth House Podcast. I'm Jesse Ray, and I'm here with my brother, Zay Hampton.
What up, brother?
I appreciate you being here.
No doubt. Let me take the glasses off for this.
Oh, we're getting serious.
There we go.
All right, I like it. So Zay is a good friend of mine and also a 7-figure, going on 8-figure luxury car rental business company. How would you describe your business?
I would describe it as a luxury experience. You know, we mainly focus on not just being and delivering services, but how is the experience with our company. So, you know, I feel like that's what's going to set us and my company apart from any other one.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know I gave a quick, just kind of background recap of what you do, but kind of like where your business is at right now. I know you just moved into a brand new facility. You have, other partners within the facility as well.
Right.
Like I think like a cleaning company, or was it car wrapping company? You want to kind of just outline where you're at right now?
Yeah, so right now, I've been in the car rental space for about 7 years. I started off just as a hustle. I didn't really know what I was doing in business, just like any young entrepreneur. I knew that I wanted to make money, and I felt like, the car rental space was an avenue that I would be able to eventually master. So I started doing the car rentals. Like I said, it was a hustle. And then I started in Pittsburgh.
Okay. Before we actually go into that story, what does it look like right now?
Oh, right now?
Yeah.
So, my bad. I apologize. Let's reverse that. So right now, we're just moved into a 2-story dealership and totally renovated it. It was a $500,000 remodel. So it was definitely, an experience.
It was a project?
Yeah, it was a big project. And now, we're growing. We have about 20 vehicles at the location. And like you said, we're trying to get about 4 or 5 more tenants in there as well, because the space is big. And then we want a wrap company down below us, just because it'll be good cross promotion. And I feel like it's something that will align with the vision and the company. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's super cool. And like, you're a big player here in Arizona. Like, you've really moved your company, which we'll get into that story, and really made a presence in Scottsdale. Like, I know people that hit me up, you're like, oh, how'd you know Zay?
Right.
And so that's just amazing what you've created in the last, how long have you been in Arizona now?
We're almost at 2 years. So
Almost
like
at
a
2
year
years.
and a half we've been there. A little bit over a year and a half. So
that's amazing, man. And I'm, grateful that you're here and honored to know you. I do want to take just rewind the clocks.
Right.
Zay growing up, what is Zay like growing up?
So like Zay growing up, I was always hustling.
Yeah.
Like, it's preschool, I'll say I was a bad kid. I always was a character, I'll say that. I was an angel at home. Parents, all the family would say I was the golden child, the best. I was yes mom, yes dad. But as soon as I was out of the crib, I was terrorizing stuff.
You're a wild boy.
Yeah, I was wild at school, wild at my friends. But I mean, I feel like that's just how I even transitioned in life, is like always being a chameleon. Like there's always a time and a place. And I just figured it out a little bit early. I knew where I could get away with things and where I couldn't.
All right, I'm curious, man. Preschool, kindergarten, what were you doing? Because I was hustling at like 4 or 5 years old, selling cards, doing, random stuff. What were you doing?
So like definitely my brother is a lot older than me. So he always like, like literally physically trained me to be bigger and stronger than all the other kids my age. So I wasn't a bully, but I was rough, and I didn't hold back my roughness. So, a lot of the kids weren't used to that. So I was that kid that like we're playing tackle football, like I'm picking you up and slamming you. Like I was very rough and aggressive because I played with older kids my whole life. Like that's how they didn't take it easy on me. So like kids my age was easy pickings. But aside from football and loving to be a kid, I was always interested in like testing my salesmanship abilities, and that definitely came from my dad. Because one thing that like I always had a weird fascination with was business. And my dad was in B2B sales at the time when like telecom was huge. So Verizon, Yellow Pages, my dad was the top, performer in those areas. So I loved going on his sales calls. I was looking for any excuse to skip school so I could go with my dad because I knew, he drove all the time. So I was going to go stop, look at dirt bikes, go get the food that I wanted to get. And, and then I would sit in on the calls. And I loved like thinking I was like the one that was closing the deals for him. Because, when you're selling stuff, you bring a kid to the call, like they're like, oh, like who's this? Oh,
instant rapport.
Yeah. So I think, now that I think about it, I think my dad was really the smart one. They're not going to turn me down.
Right. You thought he was teaching you. He was really using you.
Yeah. So, he's probably like, hey, they ain't going to turn a kid down. Zay, you tell them, are they going to sign up for our services? So, I was always trying to close the deals, and I did close some, but now I'm thinking about it. I think my dad was really the smart one. So shout out Pops, right? Yeah, right. So that was me. So from preschool, like I said, I'll say like, actually not preschool, I'll say like third, fourth grade is when I really like started stepping into like the real entrepreneurship mindset. And I was selling candy. And then from the candy progressed into like I had a connect and a plug with jerseys and like shoes. Yeah. I think I had a couple, they called them the shoe mans. I think I had a couple replicas in there, but I was just selling anything I could get my hands on. And then the jerseys were a hit, and they were like, I was selling for $150, $200. I was getting fronted from my brother's friend who had the Mitchell and Ness Connect. Yep. So, those jerseys were selling for $200, but I was getting them for, if not free, $40, $50. And I'm in like 5th, 6th grade.
You making racks.
I'm running it up. And then on top of that, my dad helped me start my first landscape company when I was 12. So, I made sure I was a little bit of a brat. I wanted the Honda lawnmower, the $600 lawnmower.
Man.
So
you were bougie young.
I was bougie young.
You wanted luxury from the very beginning.
The best of the best. Like, nah, Dad, this one like cuts the grass and doesn't leave any shavings on the ground. Like I had.
So you would sell them on it. You would switch it around. Like, I don't need it for the look. I need it for the quality.
Yeah, it's gonna give the best cut and the best results to the client. So I learned that to get what I want, I had to present a good case, for why I wanted it. So, and I was good at doing that. So, it worked, and I started doing the landscape company. But the funny thing was I was really, really, really allergic to grass. So, but it was like, honestly, it was the only thing like that a kid my age at 12, 13 years old could do at that time to like make good money. Right. And it was a huge market. Everybody needed their grass cut where I was at. My family loved it because they were.
You still did it. You were sneezing, eyes running.
I used to wear 2 masks, goggles. I would have tissues under the mask. I'd be on the mud, coming home, my eyes watering, but I was making that money.
You still did it.
I wasn't allergic to money. So,
that's crazy.
Maybe I was, but yeah. So
that's amazing. So you went from the candy. I can relate to this so much because I had the same thing, man. Jesse at your service. I was doing house cleaning, landscaping, window washing, literally going door to door, passing out flyers at like 12, 13 years old.
And then it was like, oh, hold on. It was called Spruce It Up Landscaping. So
you had an LLC too, huh? Yeah, you probably had it all legit.
Spruce It Up Landscaping with the business cards.
Oh, and then, you were next level.
All season. Okay, when your grass doesn't need cut, I will be there in the winter because, it snowed a lot in Pittsburgh. So shoveling the snow, that was good money because, it would snow a lot, get $180 for a big driveway, and then it would snow again the next day. So I would be at the doors convincing no, I know it's going to snow tomorrow, but if it doesn't snow, then you still need your driveway, and then it turns into ice to get them to do it twice back to back.
You had every season on lock.
So yeah, man, I was definitely out there hustling, and then so that was that, and then there was a gap, obviously. High school, like going into the high school, middle school, like it was football. There really wasn't time. Like when you start to get into like high school sports, it's not really time like for a job because then you got the season, then you have off season where they want you training, getting bigger in the weight room. Then I was dabbling in basketball and wrestling. So when football was over, I was trying to do those sports. But then I moved schools, and it ended up being a blessing in disguise because like I went to a school that didn't have a good team, that I didn't relate with anybody. I didn't even want to play because I just didn't like the school. Like it was, it was out in the country, and I was the only person that looked like me there. and I wasn't feeling the vibe, you know. So then
Is this the move to NC? Or
this was the move to
earlier?
this was the move to a different school. I mean, the school got a lot of money, so I don't want to mention them because I don't want to give them a bad rep. But it was out in I'll say Norwin, PA,
Okay,
which is
still in PA.
very prominent area.
Yeah.
And everybody there has money. But yeah, I was the only kid that had a tan all year round, I'll say. And so I just felt out of place, and I just was really like unhappy there at that school. So then I stopped. I was like, look, I'd rather do cyber school than to go to this school. So I got into cyber school, but then I had all the time, and I was still a hustler. So I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna pay somebody to do like the classes that I had to. So we always joke about this, but my sister was like very like, she was a rule follower. If she had to be up by 7, she was up and ready at her computer by 6. And I used to bully her about it. Like, you nerd, like, what are you doing? Class don't start for, till another hour. And, she's there. But Zay, I just want to be on time. You have to be
How many
early.
siblings do you have?
You have to, so there's 5 of us. So I got one little sister, 2 older sisters, and then a brother.
Yeah.
So my little sister, I knew that she was always on time. So like we would have class at 9 and I would know that, but I wouldn't want to get up. I'm like staying up till 6 in the morning playing Call of Duty at this time. Cause it was like, I got into a weird, Modern Warfare 2 phase. Like that was
addicting, bro.
I
was on that too.
It was addicting,
you
bro.
play zombies?
And I wasn't even supposed to play shooting games. I grew up in a Christian household. So, so I was sneaking at night. So I was only playing, when my parents went to sleep because they didn't like the game at all. So I was definitely up late because I wasn't even starting till late. And then it was addicting,
Man.
Search and destroy. I'm like,
that.
I got a high off of it. So anyway, I could never wake up for a class, but I knew that she could. So I would have her sign on to the class for me and then sign off. And I would be in bed. I would come downstairs. Her name's Ashley. So I'd be like, yo, Ash, sign on to class for me. I got you later. I'll get you something. Please, come on, please. And she, we were best friends at the time. So I didn't have to convince her. She was going to do it for me. But yeah, so she would just sign on to class for me. So moral of the story, I graduated in 9th grade. That was the last 9th or 10th grade. I think a little bit of 10th grade because I tried going back to school. And when we moved back to my school district that I really wasn't even from. I grew up in an area called Penn Hills, and then I went to Gateway. And that was cool, but sports was becoming a little bit too much for me at that school. They were really good. A lot of people in the league came out of there. It was Gateway, Woodland Hills, Central Catholic. I got a lot of people. Miles went to Woodland Hills. DeMar Hamlin, he went to Central. There's a lot of people. Aaron Donald went to Penn Hills.
Oh, wow.
So I went to school. Yeah, all these people who are in the NFL now doing great. Shout out to all of them. They went to those schools, and it was just that's when I realized I didn't love it because they were always dedicated to it, putting in the work. And I'm out just I wanted to make money, be a businessman. I wanted to be that dude who had as much money as they had in the NFL, but I didn't have to do that route. I didn't want to dedicate my life to football. I just love to play it. And I still think I can get in there and play. I think I could try out for one of the leagues, just give me a year.
We already know what happened last time you played flag football. That's another story. We won't even go over there.
Hey, no, we were good though. It was it could have happened. I would have been safer if we weren't playing flag because I would have had a helmet. Yeah.
That's true.
But anyway, so yeah, I just started losing the love for the sport, and then we moved back to the school district that I was at for a couple of years that I still knew people at, that I felt I was supposed to be around. And it just was I was getting into trouble for no reason. I was being accused of stuff. So I'm yeah, I'm going back to cyber school. I don't have time for this. And that was in 10th grade. And I haven't been that was the last year.
So did you get a diploma or you drop out of?
I was really I was doing college classes in 10th grade. That's because school, the reason why I had a little bit of issues in school was because I was really smart. So I was smart enough to excel in the normal classes, but I felt I was, I knew where to be at. Cause then I was well, I don't want to do the accelerated classes because that actually is gonna, I don't care how smart you are, you're gonna have to try. There's too much homework and stuff. So
Right.
like, I rather just get all A's
Yeah.
in the regular classes because I can
Right.
do that in my sleep. So I was a kid that everybody, even the smart kids, were cheating off of.
Oh wow.
But
And then it just came natural.
yeah, it was just like I was really good at math. Like I just felt like I was that type of person that was like, all right, if we need to get to 10, I'm gonna do 10 times 1. I'm not gonna do 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. Like I'm not gonna do that. Like I'm gonna try to find the most effective, quickest route to the solution, to the answer. And again, like even my analogy was math. Like that was my thing. So that's why I always wanted to be either an NFL player or an engineer because like math was there. So yeah, so I was taking college classes in like 10th grade. I was doing like engineering classes. I was getting college credits.
Wow.
And then I had an opportunity to go to the oil field. My cousin, he just came back. I think he was in Afghanistan for like 11 years because like I was class of 2013. So you figure 9/11 was like 2001. This was like 2010 or 11-ish. And yeah, so he was over there for 10 years. It was like 2011. And I
What,
started
he was
this,
serving, or what was he? He was.
Oh yeah,
in the
he
oil
was
fields.
like he was like special forces or something. He was definitely out there. You know, in the military, you never know what they're really doing. Like you know, especially when they're high up, they're never really going to tell you.
Always
You
got
know,
some secret classified
it's
missions.
classified. So I don't really know what he was doing, but I know he was doing more than what he enlisted for. You know, he was accelerating, and they moved him up a lot. So when he came home, you know, he got this job back east. Fracking was really big. Like the Marcellus shale boom happened where like the United States started finding resources for oil here in the States. They didn't have to go. And that was kind of, you know, I don't want to get into politics, but, you know, a lot of people believe that's why 9/11 did happen, was because it was like an oil thing, you know, Middle East. So, yeah. So anyway, that was a huge industry at the time. They were paying like 120 all the way up to 200,000 just at entry level.
So what would you have to do in the oil? Like how? What
so-
would be the role? Or did you actually end up doing it?
So he was like, "Yo, come and check into it." My uncle Ray actually called me. He was the one who was like, "Yo, nephew, like, always, that was my favorite. Still to this day, that's my favorite uncle. I'm still his favorite nephew." And he just always like put me on a pedestal. And like, thank him. I still love him for that. He always like, my family and my whole entire family always was pushed me and told me I was great. So like, that's one thing that I cannot not give them their credit for. Is like, I always in my head was the greatest thing ever, but it was because of my family.
That's awesome.
So anyway, he gives me a call like, "Yo, nephew, like, I know probably, you know, isn't what you have in mind, but you should look into this." And you know, I'm 17. It's not really all clicking with me. Like fracking, shale, like I'm out there like low key probably thinking about going. I'm coming back from LA Fitness, eating Chick-fil-A. He's saying all these words that I never heard of, you know, engineering, Marcellus shale. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, I did want to be an engineer. Like that's something that I'm interested into, but I was more so like on buildings, like structural engineering. And maybe I started getting into aerospace engineering, like building like cars and jets, like stuff that were going to be changing like the way that people travel.
Right.
And to think about where I'm at now, it's kind of weird. Like, oh, I got into cars. Like, I think maybe I'm going to start getting into car engineering. Actually, that's something that's in the books. But yeah, so he's like, all right. I'm like, whatever. Like, what does it pay? And he starts throwing out the numbers. At first, the conversation was like, all right, like, that's weird. Like, well, what is it? And he starts saying, well, you make a lot of money, like $3,000-4,000 a week. I'm like, oh yeah, now you got my attention.
Now let's talk.
So anyway, I reached out to my cousin. It took me a little bit. Like I didn't even do it right away, which I should have. But I think like the next day I reached out to him and then I didn't get him. And then a couple of days later, I call him and he's like, yeah, like, you know, I actually know the manager, boom, boom, boom. He ends up getting me the job. So I, like, and it was traveling job. Like I had to live in a hotel. I got a per diem. I lived like 3 hours away from home in a hotel by myself. So it's like
17.
I went from 17
Wow.
now living on my own, you know, arguably making more money than my parents, both of them combined, you know, because I think my dad was making like 100, my mom was making like 60, 70, which was good, especially 15 years ago.
For sure.
So, you know, like
So you were pulling in like 200.
yeah, I was pulling in a lot of money. I can't even tell you how much because I was just getting the checks and blowing it. I was just
At 17 years old, most people would.
I was, you know, 17 getting, even after taxes, I know it was at least high twos every single week. And that was like not even on, that was on my short weeks because we did 15 days on, like 4 days off. And sometimes we worked our off days if we wanted to. But me, like, I couldn't wait to get off work. I had, you know, bank full of money. I'm ready to blow it on my 2 or 3 days off before I come back.
What were you doing? Hard. Did you go back home and like?
I mean, so the job was 18 to 22 hours a day. Like I would start work on sometimes Tuesday and get off on Wednesday. Yeah. Just however the day aligned. We were working a full day of work. Now, a lot of it was like half of the day was travel. Like it was like a 2-hour ride there. And then I don't even know how, but we got paid for going to Sheetz every morning. Sheetz was like a gas station out there. I don't know what you compare it to, like a Circle K or something out here. But Sheetz was the spot. But anyway, we had like a 2-hour food stop there and back. So we got paid for that. So I was really working like on the job, a heavy equipment operator, like where we were shoveling sand, carrying 2,000-3,000 pounds of metal. Like it was very, very labor intensive. Like in the oil field, everything is heavy, everything can kill you. So like, you know, at the time I was 17, I really wasn't thinking of it like, yo, I'm getting paid so much because the job is dangerous.
Right,
like,
right.
Nobody's dumb enough to do this. Like I'm thinking I'm in a good position, but I'm really making them billions of dollars every single day. My thousands is really billions to them.
Right.
So so I did that, but I only lasted like a year. Like I ended up hurting my back. I actually fell off of a truck. Like I was changing a transmission. In the oil field, you got to change transmissions. Like you have to change out the parts every time you frack, which means like you go down a hole at like crazy, like 100 barrels a minute, which is, I think that's equivalent to like something crazy, like 5,000 pounds per square inch. Like if you have an accident in the oil field, like you're not just like dead, you're like turned into mist. Like it's super, like it's sand and water going at like 5,000 miles an hour. So if it hits you, like you don't even see blood, you see just like red mist. Crazy.
Did you see any like crazy accidents while you're out there?
So like I didn't physically witness any, but like it would be like, yo, the job, like the shift before me, like somebody died, like, you know, stuff like that. And that was kind of hard to go into, but you know, like I seen my cousin like nearly chop his hand off. Like I didn't see people's toes get cut off, people, you know, lose their fingers, but like I never really like witnessed anything like too gruesome. But yeah, I was changing out a transmission, and then the bar, it was like a big bar, it just snapped. But I was like on top of a truck. So like I fell backwards off of it, but then I landed onto like something that kind of looked like an iron, like rack. It was like an iron rack that you put the pieces of metal onto. Jacked me up, like I was hurt. But in the oil field, it's basically like OSHA. OSHA is like the regulation of like you know what, you familiar with OSHA?
I've heard of OSHA, yeah.
Yeah, so OSHA is the people who regulate all work environments. And when you have an OSHA reportable, meaning like somebody actually had to go to the hospital or get checked, that's called a OSHA reportable, you're gone. Like you're your liability to the company. So they can't legally or technically fire you, but they'll do things to make you quit. So I had an OSHA reportable, you know, obviously they're like saying, do you want to go to the hospital? You better not say you need to go to the hospital. Like, you know what I mean? It's like one of those, like, oh man, you got hurt. Like, do you need to go to the hospital? Like, I'm like, yeah, I do. Like, it's pretty bad. It was bad, bro. Like, I couldn't walk or nothing. I was hurt. And, you know, it's like, then I got coworkers like, oh, you better, you know, they're trying to help me catch a claim or something, but they really just like cared about me. So anyway, long story short, like they owed me like $2-3 million, and somehow they have the best attorneys as usual. Got out of it, didn't pay me nothing, but I was actually out of work for a minute because like my back was messed up, and obviously like I probably could have went and played college ball at school or something, but that just wasn't even in my plans no more. So like I stopped, and that was probably like my craziest years because that was the first time like I was like out from under the shelter of like my home. Like I was real sheltered growing up. Not like I wanted to be though. Like I wanted to be like that good kid that made my parents happy. So I allowed them to shelter me, but then when I got off on my own, like there is no balance. Like I just went crazy. I missed prom, graduation, like all that I worked through.
Wow.
So like I felt like I had a lot to make up for.
So you are 17, go out there, 18, you get hurt, 19, we're back home?
Yeah, I'm still like 19-ish.
Yeah.
So like 19 is when it was like, I still had, like I was used to money. So now it's kind of like when you get money, you like can't go back to being broke again. So like I always like started understanding I started really understanding like how to continue to make money. Because for me, I could not go back to a regular 9-to-5 job. Like I was working, my 9-to-5 was paying me $50 an hour. Anywhere else in the real world, like they were not hiring an 18, 19-year-old kid with no college degree.
You get 9.
Yeah, getting that much money. But like my resume, because I had a lot of accolades, I would go into interviews. I would be interviewing for like regional sales manager. I would get the interviews. And then when I would get there, they're like, we got the wrong person. I'm like, no, that is me, Isaiah Bannister, senior sales, worked in engineering. Like I had all the accolades, but it just didn't like, on paper, it just didn't match up to me in person. And I mean, like I still look young. I definitely looked young then. I was 18 looking like I was 12.
Oh, man. I mean?
So... yeah, I just.
I'm gonna need to see that. Well, actually, you never had a senior year. I'm gonna need to see that like sophomore.
I
picture.
did do senior year pictures though. Still,
you
like
did?
my parents still like made sure like I had like some type of like
connection.
Okay, 11th grade, like let's schedule a photographer to come take your picture so we remember what you looked like when you should have been in school, but I was not in school. So anyway. Like I just couldn't work a regular job. Like I had good jobs too. I was working like executive level at the headquarters, like banking headquarters. I was getting those jobs because I always knew like business. I knew how to speak and get jobs. Like I was a people person.
Yeah, you're very personable, easy to talk to.
Yeah, like I had really good jobs and I just couldn't do it. I'm just like one, I couldn't sit at a desk no more because I was so used to being active. So that was like one thing that I never thought about. Like, even I was making like 21 an hour at like a sales position at a bank, and I'm just like falling asleep because my adrenal glands were shot because I'm working 23 hours a day. I had to literally get accustomed to like, all right, as soon as I have the chance to sit down, like I gotta force myself to go to sleep. So then like that literally carried over to my normal day to life. Like as soon as I sat down, I would sleep because you had to. In the oil field, if you didn't get your rest in however you could, whether you were standing up on a truck, if you had downtime, like get your sleep because you ain't getting it any other time. So
how long did you last in corporate America?
I didn't last not even a year.
Okay.
So 19, I started selling like reselling designer clothes, belts, like just doing a whole bunch of like literally in the clothing and fashion industry. I started getting into modeling, doing fashion shows, having like mansion parties was my niche. Like I knew how to make $10,000-$15,000 in one night. So that literally carried over to like where I was traveling all around the US. Like I was going to Minneapolis, like shout out to my boy D who brought me out there. I was going to Cali. I was going like all over, every single major college, like in the Eastern, like Penn State, West Virginia, Pitt. I was doing all the major colleges, like parties there, and I started like gaining a name. I had a really, really, really big one at my house, my personal house. My parents were moving out of a house in this place called Monroeville. It was like maybe like 4,000 square feet, but what made my event different was like the house was being remodeled, so it was completely empty.
Right.
No furniture.
Right.
So like the whole crib was, it was
Space.
no rules, all space, no rules. You can fill it up,
man.
you can cram it, like you can break stuff, whatever you want. We remodeling it anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Real. And this is like the year that Project X came out too.
Oh, so you had some inspiration?
I had some inspiration. So I had a real life Project X to the point like when the police came, obviously, like I don't even know who called them because like even my neighbors were coming over partying.
Oh, wow.
My dad was in there knucking and bucking too with his shirt off. Like he gonna be mad at me, but he was saying he was cleaning up.
Yeah, he's enjoying the party.
My dad was in there getting crazy too, but yeah, one of my friends who passed away, unfortunately, he got killed in the club. But he always told me that story because I wasn't really there. Like I was out there, managing the party. I was getting a haircut in the middle of the party. Like that was epic to people. I had my barber, the best barber in the city, was cutting my hair in the kitchen. There was like 4,000 people there.
Dang.
But he always told me that story, like, yo, your dad was getting lit, like, and I wouldn't believe him because my dad is like the most like chill. I won't say square. I used to think that, but like just chill, down to earth, like, yeah, like cool guy. That's where I get it from. And yeah, so anyway, he always told me that story. I never believed him, but yeah, he was in there. He finally admitted to it. Like,
he admitted to it?
I mean, I was dancing a little bit, but he won't admit to like getting crazy, I think.
That's wild.
Yeah, so anyway, cops couldn't even shut it down. They couldn't even get onto the street because there were so many people, so many cars. They couldn't even get through.
Wow.
We ended up shutting it down like ourselves because there was like a little fight that broke out and we didn't even have security. So I knew like even my own friends had guns. Like they were carrying guns and stuff. So like we just like kind of shut it down when the fight broke out because we didn't want anything bad to happen.
Yeah.
And it didn't. Everybody people kind of ran and got scrambled. Like when the fight broke out, they started running like, oh, he got a gun because he did, but nobody started shooting or nothing. They just saw it and like everybody freaked out. Yeah. But we calmed it down a lot. It didn't last long. It was like just maybe a 10-second chaos, but that like carried me throughout the rest. Like everybody.
So you had a name now, not only in your city, but other cities like, yo, we gotta have Zay come throw this party.
Bruh, my cousin was, he, not at the time of the party, but he was incarcerated and he was even calling me from jail talking about it. Like, yo, this is like the 5th person. I heard about it when I was in here, and then this is like people are still telling this story 2, 3, 4 years. That's like wild. After. That's wild. He's still hearing this in. Like, yo, everybody, like I met this random dude in here and he said he went to some party and he was talking about you the whole time.
That's wild.
Like,
he's getting cut up in the kitchen.
Crazy. So anyway, I had like a name for that and I ran with it. I continued to do it. I was traveling doing it. We started having events. All of them were successful. Like, I won't say all of them were as successful as that first one. I don't think I'll have another one as epic as that, but I started like having more regulated ones because like I didn't get in a lot of trouble, but I got like a disturbing the peace fine. Right. Like it wasn't even no disorderly or none. It was just disturbing the peace. Too big to be peaceable. Like I never even knew that was a real
I haven't heard that one either. So how long did the mansion party phase last?
It lasted until even after I met now my wife, but even after when I moved to Charlotte, I had a huge event there, and that was the last one because what happened was like I got set up by the owner of the house. Like it was like a little white collar scheme. So he rented me the mansion. I paid him a check. And then he asked for cash because he claimed that like the check wasn't gonna clear before the event, but he didn't even ask me to pay him until the day before the event. So knowing that a check, especially you're talking over $10,000 wasn't gonna clear for a couple of days. Some days only for a week.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, now we done promoted it. We have people flying in from Cali to go to Charlotte. We have people driving Sprinter vans from Pittsburgh, like 9-hour drive. Like they're already on their way. There's no going back. I'm like, oh man, like I got the check. Now you want cash? So I go out. I give them cash, the morning of the party, everything's good. We had a contract, and then time comes for the event. We set up, they were there, everything was good. But then, even you still come to my events now, we didn't have anybody park at the house.
Right. Uber.
We had a shuttle like 5 minutes away.
Oh yeah, usually you guys have the shuttles.
Yeah, I still do that, so this is true. I'm not making this up because you've experienced it.
Been to quite a few of them. This guy knows how to do it.
Yeah, so that's where it came from. People wonder why my events even still to this day, you really know how to do it. Like I've been doing it for a while.
Right.
But anyway, the shuttle location was like 5 minutes away at like a public and 24-hour bus station. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right, this is perfect. It's in a really prominent area. I don't want to disrupt the peace again. So we have it there, and the police were sitting at the shuttle location. And I'm like, what is going on? And they're like, we hear there's going to be a big party. And I'm like, yeah and no. I'm having an event, but it's not what you guys are making it seem like. What are you doing just sitting at my shuttle location? Mm-hmm. And they're not letting people get on the shuttle. They're doing the most. And it was literally probably one of the worst feelings in the world because I know I had people paying $5,000-$10,000. I broke the space into sections. We had VIPs. I spent $40,000 on the event. I had bottles. I bought furniture, decor. We had our thing. It was it was a huge house, but in the back, it was almost 2 acres, and it had a waterfall, a huge waterfall. Gazebos, pools, everything you can think of. This house was meant for parties basically. Mm-hmm. And so the police were there, and they wouldn't let us have the event, and we still did have it. They were following our shuttle to the house because they're what's the location? I didn't put the location on there. So they were what is the location? And then they just followed our shuttle to the house because I'm like, man, I can't not have this. We're having this. We're just gonna make sure we're doing, us, everybody be in check. Be in line, and we should be good. They can't shut it down if we're not doing anything wrong. So we do, and they still they come to the house. They tell me to shut it down. I don't because I don't feel like there's a reason to. And then maybe an hour in, we have maybe 500-600 people, and I mean there's still about 500 tickets that I pre-sold that still weren't even there.
So the cops were letting people still in?
They weren't literally, at this point, I don't think they had a warrant to not let people in. They were trying to, but I was pushing the envelope. I was no, they're gonna literally have to shut it down in order for me to not have it. I'm gonna just keep going. So long story short, they an hour later, they come, bulletproof vest on, M16s,
always extra
guns. Yeah, for what? But they come in there was only 2 of them though. But the fact nobody likes to see all of that. When you start hearing the dogs and the guns and the vest, and we're in Charlotte. This is in the middle of the whole George Floyd thing. Trayvon Martin. So in Charlotte is mostly Black people anyway, at this event. So nobody was messing with the police. There was a lot of police tension because I'm not anti-police. I definitely respect the officers, but there was it was a weird time. And I wasn't even comfortable myself. So it just it killed the whole mood. Yeah. Even people who didn't want to leave, or weren't trying to, or couldn't even leave, they were literally bought a room at this place.
Wow.
They were still out. They were just yeah, we can't be dealing with this. There's just way too much going on in the world to be cool with this. So they ruined the event, and that was the last event that I had. I was just yeah, this is a sign. I can't go through this again.
Time to pivot.
Whole time the event was for my car rentals though.
Oh, so you had a car rentals at the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was doing what I was doing. That's why I had the event, because I was brand new to Charlotte. And, you know, I lost 21 years of connections, relationships. Like, I was very tied and plugged in Pittsburgh. Like, there wasn't anywhere that I couldn't go where, like, I knew somebody that either worked or owned the club or wherever I was at. Like, I had a lot of strong relationships and connections there, and I just lost all that. Like, I didn't know anybody in Charlotte. I wasn't even running my business the right way. So we're like, this is 2018. I started my car rental business in 2016. And, you know, 2016 up until that point, I'm making money, but didn't really understand like the whole dynamic of business. Like, just because you're making money, how much are you keeping? Do you have an LLC? Are you incorporated? Like, I didn't know all the legalities of business until I moved. And now I'm trying to get those same connections that I had back in Pittsburgh. And they're asking those questions like, oh, you know, do you have a sales tax license? Where is your TPC? Where's, you know, oh, let me search up your business, you know? Like, they're asking the questions that they should. But to me, I'm just like, whoa, like.
I'm making money.
Whoa there, like. Don't you see the cars? You know what I mean? So it was a very, very humbling experience, because it was a sink or swim type of situation for me. I'm like, dang, you know, I got so I just met my now wife, Kiera. We had met in Pittsburgh at 2017, like in July. And in I'll say like October of 2017, like we got serious. And then she moved to Pittsburgh January 2018.
Okay.
By February, I was like, we moved to NC, because I was like, yo, I wasn't even the type to be in a relationship. It caught everybody off guard, even myself. And it was just like, I don't know, we both were really adventurous. I was always adventurous. Now, like, at this point, I'm just like, yeah, like, I definitely want a fresh start. Like, let's get out of here. I'm thinking in the back of my head, I'm about to take everything that I have here and do it there anyway. I like Charlotte better. I was on this Charlotte high. Like, I was already going out there for like GHO. You know what that is? It's called GHO, the greatest homecoming on earth. That's what they call it. It's called GHO. It's like all the like UNC campuses, all the black colleges, but yeah, North Carolina, A&T, it's up there. They have a huge homecoming every year. I was already going to that, and like really, like, it was a whole new world. I was not exposed to that, and it was like, I was high off of that at the time. Like, this is crazy. Like, kind of like when you come to Scottsdale, and like, you go to Old Town, and you're like, whoa, like, yeah. For sure. So that was that phase, and I'm like, I want to move here. I'm thinking that it's going to be GHO every single day. Yeah. No, serious. So I'm thinking GHO every day. Like, this is somewhere that I can live. I can get used to this. You know what I mean? It wasn't even just like the party atmosphere. It was just like the energy that I fell in love with. And that's like, that was a change of pace for me. I'm like, I could get down with this energy.
So how long were you in NC?
So I was in NC for about 2 years. That was like really where life put me to the test, and like that was like my confirmation that like, yeah, I'm gonna be a businessman. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna be the #1 largest luxury car rental company on earth, because like in the instance, in the matter of about 1 year, like I had hotel contracts. I had literally everybody from the streets to the corporate, like they knew about me. I was putting in a lot of work, but I didn't really realize it, because like that's how I knew I loved what I did, because I did it 24/7. I was out there dressing up, detailing cars. I had a mobile detail company and then the rentals, because they kind of went hand in hand. For sure. I'm like, look, I can't depend on nobody, because I don't know anybody out here. I don't know the best detailer, and it was expensive. I was starting a new business. $80 a car, because that's what I was getting charged, because it was hot, messy, and you know, they see Porsches and Benzes, they see money signs. So everybody was hitting me over the head trying to tax me for every service. So I just started doing it myself, and then it became a business, like to even, okay, let me make some more money doing it for other people when I'm not doing it for me, and then I'll scale it. And at the time, like I had a good friend Matt, that was his passion. He like wanted to be a detailer, a professional detailer. So we were doing it with him. And when it became a business, it was kind of like my duty, like, all right, I'm gonna help you grow this. But I ended up working just like a normal employee. But yeah, it was humbling and it was fun because like I was out there and looking like a homeless kid, but whole time, you know, I own better cars than everybody I'm washing cars for. You know,
How many cars did you have? What was your fleet size? This is
So-
what, 2019, 2020?
Yeah, so we were I had about, I'll say like 15 cars at the time, and I owned all of them. So it was like that was a big accomplishment, and like business was great. Like I had a lot of clientele. Like I said, I had the hotels calling me. It was a market that like nobody else was in. I didn't really have any competition. Like my only competition really was like a big McLaren dealership out there. Like they were the only people who kind of did rentals on the side.
Yeah.
And like, but that really wasn't a threat because they sold cars. They weren't really interested in renting them, but they would do it with their older cars or whatever. So I was just, you know,
So you were the man in the city.
yeah, I would like to say, and I was really hustling hard. Like if I wasn't, I was waking up at 5 a.m, out there with my sign. I'm having events every weekend. I'm networking, and like even talking about it now, it's like, dang, like, you know, being here in Scottsdale, you know, you kind of get used to like where you came from and moving to a new city here. Fast forward 2 years ago. And the reason why I moved here was because like, you know, I was doing so well in Charlotte and I'm like, all right, I did it in Pittsburgh. I was doing good in a market that there wasn't a market for it.
Right.
Charlotte really wasn't, I won't say there wasn't a market, but there wasn't like an existing establishment there. So I did it here. I can do it anywhere at this point, like, and I still know and do. I'm like, God's on my side at this point. Like, this is just what I'm meant to do because if I can duplicate it in these two cities, like if you can make it out of Pittsburgh, you can make it anywhere. Like Pittsburgh was not a good place to have rental cars. One, because of the roads, the weather,
the weather itself.
Yeah, it was, I created a market where there was no market. So at that point, like Charlotte was easy for me and Scottsdale just spoiled me.
Yeah.
So she wanted to come and be an interior designer. She wasn't like, my wife at the time, she wasn't interested really in doing the business, you know, because I had it under control. It was running me crazy. I was working 23 hours a day again, but you know, we were living comfortably. So I'm like, yeah, let's do it. We visited AZ. Again, I saw Old Town, so I'm thinking Old Town every day.
But here, knowing you, Zay, knowing like you didn't even drink that much or you even go out that much.
It wasn't even that.
Did you have a phase where you were? Is that what drew you in?
Yeah. But at the time, that wasn't what interested me. I definitely had the phase because, like I said, I had the parties.
Right, the mansion phase is that phase.
So for 3-4 years, like the mansion phases weren't just business. I was literally getting paid to live the best life, like to me, into the American dream at the time. I was living the American dream. I had the cars, I had the girls, everything that you can think of that everybody now and the rappers rap about, like I really was doing it. I really had it. And like I can confidently say that. Like I got to experience what it was like to be a celebrity.
Yeah.
And I know what it was like, but it just like turned me off real early. I'm like, all right, I know what this life is about. Like it's all fun, but like when, you know, stuff hits the fan, when like you really think about it, like you still, it's empty calories. That's all it is. It is empty calories. There's just a whole bunch of smoky mirrors and nothing behind it. Like when the dust settles and the smoke clears, you're left with nothing still. So I realized that real early on in life. I made like all my mistakes in life really early. So when I saw Old Town though, I was like, in just Scottsdale as a whole,
You
I'm
saw
like,
the dollar
all right.
signs.
Yeah, well, what it was like, okay, I thought, all right, Charlotte was something. But again, I had to make that business. I had to make that demographic and that market. I had to establish that myself. But Scottsdale, it was already here. So I'm like, oh man, like not only is there money and a market here, but these people actually appreciate what I do here. And like, that is the biggest thing in anything in life, in business. You know, I think there's a saying like, you know, don't don't be where you're tolerated, be where you're appreciated. Like I was not tolerated, I was appreciated here in Scottsdale. Like people loved cars. They were overpaying me for cars when I first came here. They're like, I'm like, oh, it's only 400. Oh, I'll give you 600. Let me get it right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa. Now, Charlotte was nice, but I wasn't used to this. Like now, like I'm literally not accepted, not tolerated. Like I'm welcomed, appreciated, like propped up here in Scottsdale. So it was like, yeah, like this is it for me. And, we were here. And like I was booked out, all the cars were out nonstop for like 9 months straight.
Wow. During the pandemic, right?
During the pandemic. The pandemic actually helped me because like a lot of people didn't have anything better to do but get in a car. Like the cars became their club. Like,
right.
Now they flexing, stunting, pulling up on all their friends. I had the slingshots in Charlotte, so like that was like a big thing. Slingshots when they first came out. They tortured me with those clutches though. But yeah, here it was like they didn't have anything else to do. People who never had money now have money somehow, some way. I won't say. So,
we all know those type of people.
Yeah. So now there's this money, dumb money coming in. Almost like now we're going through that phase with crypto. Now there's a whole bunch of people who got money through crypto. So that was the pandemic. Double, tripled my business. It was going up, and it spoiled me because I didn't have to do the things that I was doing that got me to that point anymore. And it was like, now even now where I'm at now, where like I'm scaling, doing more, adding more, going bigger than I've ever been, making more than I ever made. At that point where like I got to go back to ground one, because when I came here, like not only did I not have to, but there wasn't even a way for me to do what I was doing before. I had nothing to market. What was I gonna say? Like, hey, I didn't even have a car to do a video with. It was gone for 9 months. Like, I'm not gonna not do it. Looking back, maybe that was something that I could have did differently. Like, I'm like, man, I should have held off on like 10 of those rentals to create content so that when you do have that slow season in life, like I was on cloud 9. I was just like, yeah, like this is it. I don't ever have to worry about money no more. I'm like about to call I'm telling my mom and my dad, like, yeah, you guys get used to being home, because even after the pandemic, you're good. Like I'm going up, like business is going to be good forever. Like my life has changed. Like, I mean, that's a big thing. Like being booked out for 9 months, that was a lot of money, but it was a very fulfilling feeling at the time. Like, you just feel like you just got that record deal.
Well, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, like I didn't think that it was gonna get slow again. But it did.
Yeah, I guess just a quick question before you kind of finish that story and lead up to where we're at now.
Yeah.
You were the man in like every city that you ended up, building a business in. But at the same time, and you're around luxury cars, you're around private jets, you're around high net worth people, and you're still arguably probably the most humble person I know. Where did that come from? How do you stay grounded when people put you on a pedestal, when you have all these amazing things, material things around you?
Yeah, so like I said, definitely like it came from my family, because like I didn't even know, I'm like, oh wow, like how do I handle like, all the attention and stuff? It was like, because even when I was, little Isaiah, little Zay, it was like my family gave me the attention that I needed. So like I didn't have to go out and act out for it. Even when I was bad in school, it wasn't because I was bad because I wasn't getting attention. It was just like I was a bad kid. Like that was it. But like you see rappers and people that come into money, change their life, and like they do all these crazy things, and like they just, are like doing things literally for attention. Like that was never me. And it was because like I got it from my family, and then in the lifestyle, like I just got used to it real early. I didn't always handle it well. Like I definitely feel like I was a cornball for a short period of time. I was probably one of those dudes that like I look at now like, oh man, like he's only like he's just acting out because he got some money and attention and fame. Like I'm not perfect. Like I definitely probably did some corny stuff that I'm not proud of, but I was never a cornball. Like that wasn't me. You know, we
Yeah.
all do some things we're not proud of, but yeah, I just I was exposed to it early. Like, I was like a Justin Bieber, like okay, kid, because even when I was growing up, I was really good in football. So it was like that was really my claim to fame up until high school, where I moved to a new city. Like you ask anybody who knew me when I was a kid, like yeah, Zay was going to the NFL. I had a nickname. It was called Birdman. And it was like my coach gave me that name because he's like, oh, you always eating sunflower seeds. And then it became, oh, you know, it's Birdman because, you know, nobody can really catch a bird. You never seen nobody, like I was always scoring. Like nobody could catch me. I was like faster than everybody. So it was like football had me like on a pedestal. And it was like I went through all these transitions in life where I was, you know, like shining. Like God has always like, I've always been like illuminated. Like I walk into a room, whether it's like, okay, football, parties, cars, something, or just even my energy is lighting up the room. Something just, I always had attention, and it wasn't always good. It was bad attention to a point where it made a lot of people like envious and jealous, and brought a lot of issues in my life that I didn't want. And that's like why I'm not only like sympathetic and empathetic with like famous people, because and I say it in a humble way, like I just like, I'm like, man, like I know what it's like to not be able to go anywhere, to have your own life, to do what you want to do without like everybody having you under a magnifying glass. And it really is like, I think I said it to you before, like, bro, when you're a goat, like when you're goated, there is no room for mistakes. Like life isn't fair. Like, and I always had the mentality like, yo, if LeBron misses a shot, he's trash. Like nobody gives him a break. Like if I'm trying to be the LeBron of anything that I'm doing, or the greatest at what I'm doing, like I should expect the same. Like life is never going to be fair to me. Whether it's like anything that I'm doing, like I should expect the odds to be against me, to everybody to just expect either, you know, greatness, or if I don't perform, like, you know, nobody to treat me the same. And that's always like in the back of my head like that. And then obviously I grew up like religious, so I always thought about Job. Like, yeah, like I'm, even through my highs and lows, like I gotta be humble, because everything can be gone overnight. And I don't think I'm as strong as Job realistically, you know, so I better watch out, because if, you know, if I'm not humble, like God will humble me, life will humble me. And I've been humbled. Like I went from here to like when I was in the oil field, you know, now I was used to making $4,000 a week. Now I'm like, dang, like nothing a week, you know? So it wasn't just from the oil field straight into the cars. There was a period where I had to go out there and grind. Like we splitting $10 in the tank. And this was after the oil field too. You know, and like I remember I had a brand new Mercedes that I got into an accident. So I got the car when I was in the oil field. Then my brother helped me out after the accident. He gave me like, it was like 20,000 cash. He gave me to help me like get the car, get it fixed, go through all that. And of course, like nobody outside knew this. It was just Zay with the brand new Benz. And I remember like I put it in my name because I didn't want to listen, and put it in my mom's name. I'm thinking, you know, just like, oh, you're just trying to like control me still. Like, nah, this is mine. I'm paying for it. I got it. So I'm paying $1,200 a month for insurance on top of, you know, well, I think I was paying like $2,500 a month for the car. And I didn't even finance that much, but it was just because I'm 18 with no credit. I put down like $16,000. The car was worth like 30 or 40. So I put down, no, it was like 30,000. So I put down over half the car. But yeah, crazy interest rates. So I remember like not even being able to pay for it after, like, and just thinking like, oh man, like I can't not be the dude in the Benz. Like, but yeah, there was that time. So
your ego definitely got checked at points in your life.
Yeah, bro, I had ego checks. I definitely like been humbled. So that's where that comes from. Yeah. I just know, like, and even whenever I deserved the attention, like I never was that type of person that like just like fed off of it. It was always like I've been so used to getting attention that sometimes I'm like, yo, chill, like, yeah, you know, like, yeah, it feels good, but you don't got to do all that. You know, so Fans, I've had fans, and it's like kind of weird to have them, but you gotta accept them because you never know who is who.
That's so true, man.
Yeah.
I love that. So, pandemic, your business booked out for 9 months straight, blowing up. What happens after that?
Man, like the craziest thing is like, and I'm still going through it, but it's like going from that and wanting, okay, what's the next step? Like I've reached this goal, this milestone in my life where, all right, I made 6 figures. Now let's go to 7. Well, in order to get to 7, you got to scale. So then it's like, okay, scaling. I start like rolling out new services, getting more cars. And then the one thing in my life that I've never actually done was like having to manage and hire a team. You always hear of it, like, okay, people who build teams, like I never really understood why that was a job.
Right.
Until, like now in my life, like I understand, like, that's why the Lakers are what they were this year. Think about it. They have LeBron, AD, Westbrook. Just because you have the greatest players or some of the greatest players doesn't mean you know how to win as a team.
Right.
And that was like what happened next. The next chapter in my life was scaling in my business, and that was that is the hardest. It's the hardest. Like I made it through that pandemic year, with the help of growing the team. A lot of money in the economy. The economy is being propped up. My business is being propped up. So I'm taking advantage of it. All right, let's keep going up. Economy is being propped up. Zay, let's get more propped up. So, scale. Hit 7 figures. And it's like I thought it was going to keep going up. And scaling has been the hardest thing. Like having to manage people, teams, like even me personally, like I had to come to the realization that like, wow, like I'm not maybe the best person to run a team. Like I know how to make money. I know how to, have a good business, but it is not easy to like find the right people, keep the right people. And then I've always been like a one-man army. And it's not that I'm not a team player, but when you're not used to like having to delegate and then literally handing over your livelihood to somebody else and them not like taking it as serious as you take it and being able to perform and they're not you. It's literally like being the Bulls, having Michael Jordan. I'm Michael Jordan in this case, and asking somebody on the bench to score for me. That's literally like what building a team and scaling my company has been like. Is like finding that Scottie Pippen or finding that Dennis Rodman. Right. Like I really like that's what made Michael great. It wasn't just he was the best player, but it was also that he had the right people around him, and that's still what I'm trying to do now. And what I'm thankful for, like meeting people like you, is like finding the right people to allow me to continue being great. Because it don't matter how good you are, how great you are, if you don't have the right team, you're never gonna win. I don't want to be an Allen Iverson. He's great, one of my favorite players, but like I want to win championships. I want to win in life. I don't want to just keep having all these, small wins and never reaching the goal that I'm trying to accomplish. You know what I mean?
I don't know about you, but I feel like this is definitely gonna need like a part 2. Zay going from 7 to 8 figures to 9 figures and how he was able to scale.
Yeah.
I think that would be amazing. I know that's the direction you're headed right now.
I think we should have it.
Absolutely.
Let's have the part 2, because I know like I got a lot more of a story to tell, and I know that I still have a lot left on the journey.
Absolutely. And I think, sorry to cut you off, but just like people listening, this is not an overnight success. You started in 2016.
Really, I started in 2006.
That's true.
And that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's like I had to go back and dig into like, how did I even get into cars? And then growing up, I realized like, my whole life, like I would go to Toys R Us and the only thing I wanted from the store was cars.
Hot Wheels?
Hot Wheels. Yeah, like building racetracks. I was always into cars, and it's just like amazing how like life works. Like you start here and you go all around here, you take a crazy journey to just be right where you probably were meant to, you've always meant to be at. And like, it's just like, literally the journey is the best part about it and how I got here. But yeah, it's been amazing, and it's been humbling, fun, sad. It's been an emotional roller coaster.
Man, I'm honored to have you as, one of my best friends out here, brother.
Definitely, bro. And I'm excited to see even what you're going through right now,
I think I'm in you've been in the game a lot longer, but I'm thinking the same way. Like, all right, scaling.
Yeah.
What do they call it? A solopreneur?
Yeah.
And then how do you actually become a real business?
Yeah.
And where you can take a step back, you can make those big decisions, to be in the business, working. What's the quote? Don't be working in the business, work on the business.
Yeah, or don't, like I went from employed to self-employed, now trying to go to like now being a business owner, but trying to master being a business owner.
Absolutely.
Because just because you have your own business, sometimes you don't run your business runs you. And that's a deadly path to be on. It's not fun. You don't have a life.
Absolutely.
So that's what I'm in the season of mastering.
Give me just like a 2 to 3 year game plan. I know, I don't know how much you want to share because I know some of the behind the scenes, that you got working on, but 2 to 3 years, besides scaling to 8, 9 figures. Yeah. Well, what's kind of in the pipeline?
Well, definitely and I gotta say, it's like, it's not, you can't, your mission and your motive can't be the money. And I know everybody hears it, it's so cliche, but that's really like, I'm focused on providing the most value for not only like my customers, but just like anybody I come in contact with. Like, I want them to feel like, wow, like he's valuable, because that's the only thing that's going to end up in equal to longevity is value. If you don't offer value, you're just a stepping stone for somebody else. So my 2-year plan is literally built off of value. So how can I continue to add value to people? So we have, scaling to multiple cities, going international. Like, I want to be in all like my favorite cities. I believe like your path should be, your business path should be the path that you also want to be on as well, because you're going to have to be attached to it. So like, I want to be in cities like, Dubai, London, Monaco, like Singapore. I want to go to Tokyo. So like, I want to be able to impact people all around the world. I want to be a vessel that God's put me to be here to impact people's lives through people's lives through my business. And then on top of that, the scaling of being international, I want to start going into the crypto side. I want to continue to grow just like the business as a brand. Like, I don't want it to just be a business. I want like Royal Reynolds to like Zay Hampton, what everybody knows me as now, to just be like that public figure, that influential person, and just like this business and myself continuing to add value around, to people around the world. And I don't always know what that's going to look like, but I know, we're trying to get the vehicles and the business model internationally. And then we want to also transition it into like the crypto, the meta, they're saying about this metaverse, so I'm trying to prepare for it. This is like our first opportunity, especially because we're at the age that we're at. Like, this is really our first opportunity to be ahead of the curve. 100%. We've always been trying to catch up, and that's just because that's how life's been. Like, we're at that age where everything that we were doing, even running a business now, is we have an opportunity to get ahead of the game and to be a part of that transition, not to try to just be strung along it. So I want to be that. I want to be the Elon Musk of my era. That could sum it up. Like, I want to be the Apple, the Tesla, all in one through my company.
It's gonna happen, bro.
That's the 2-3 year plan.
It's gonna happen.
I mean it, and we're gonna make it happen.
Absolutely. Where can people connect with you? I know the story connected with me so much. Just your journey. I know other people out there are probably gonna, want to hit you up, reach out to you, and also just follow along with the journey that you have. So Instagram, social media, what's the handles there?
Yeah, so my Instagram is Zay_Hampton. Then the Instagram for the business is royalreynolds.io, one word, so royalreynolds.io. And then of course I want people to start following the crypto side, royalriches.io. And then, also just following We have a YouTube channel called The Royal Lifestyle that we're gonna really start documenting and incorporating. And yeah, on here, follow the Growth House because I'm gonna be a part of this journey. I want to be a part of it too. So just make sure you guys are tuned in and tapped into what they're doing here.
Appreciate that, brother.
Yeah. So
all right, man.
let's get it, bro. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's been an honor.